Las Cruces.
Hello.
Hi.
And welcome to another edition of whatever we're calling this.
I thought I was done with my sneezing fit, but gotta start with chaos.
That means I get to go.
The hum of Kevin.
The hum of Kevin, yes. We have Kevin, which is actually part of our discussion today, is our Christmas decorations that we got up last time we were settled. So we are currently in Texas. However, the topic of this particular video is not Texas. It is Las Cruces, New Mexico.
Which is the only place we stayed in New Mexico. Let's start with the KOA, because that's actually where we spent most of our time, is at the campground.
Yeah, we did.
We didn't go on too many adventures. Las Cruces is about an hour north of El Paso, which was a huge city that we ended up driving through in Texas, but that's how close it is to Texas. And the KOA there was so exciting because we pulled up and they had decorated for Christmas.
They decked out big time for Christmas.
They had lights all up the driveway, and they had big snowmen they weren't inflatables, but big displays, and they had wreaths and nutcrackers outside the door, and inside their office was all decked out.
They had snowflake projectors on there, because most KOAs have like an A-frame type of office area. I shouldn't say most, but a lot of them. And so they had snowflake projectors up there, so that was kind of neat. So it was really decked out for the holidays. And
it's kind of funny to see snowmen and snowflakes in places that don't really get too much snow or snowflakes.
They did tell me they had snow briefly.
They did?
Was that them?
That was here.
No, that was here. Okay. Anyway, it was also kind of neat. One of the things that they did was they actually took I don't know, marker of some kind, and they wrote on the glass, and they would write who was all coming. So welcome to Las Cruces KOA, and then you'd look and there was our name at the bottom.
Just like the orthodontist
Just like the orthodontist does, yes. So yeah, Las Cruces was a really pretty nice campground.
Yep, managed to stay away from most goat heads. They had it pretty packed down. It was, I think Bella and I talked about this in the Travel Day Talk Show, but it was very much a turnover. Like, usually a lot of people come and stay for a little bit, a day or two or three. We were there for a week, and the whole population of the campground overturned almost every single night.
I mean, not, there would be maybe 10 or 15 people left in the campground most days. I think so. But when you're talking about a place that has probably 50 sites, that's a good portion of them turning over every day. So, so it was. We got into the most desirable site, because
it was like double wide.
It was huge. It was kind of a weird site. It was kind of at an angle, and it did take a little bit of getting into. It took us longer than it has in a long time to actually get set up.
My part was still about the same.
Her part was still the same, but backing in, we get in, and the trees would be in the way. The only real complaint I have, and it's pretty true of several of the different campgrounds that we've been at, is that when I get level, a couple of things. One, in this particular case, the water and electric was way up at the front of the site, so it was kind of weird.
Is that how more Class A's would be?
No, I think Class A's are still at the back too. Like if you look at the one that's right across from us, that's at the back. So it was just a little bit different there. But the other one that I really have a problem with is a lot of their sewer outlets are elevated higher than I think they should be. Like they should be at or below ground level when you're trying, because otherwise it doesn't dump as effectively. And so we had, I worked it out, but those are pretty common things that I've seen over the past 4 months. It's 4-month anniversary today. Today.
We'll do a video with the kids hopefully today, but ask them some questions and kind of get everybody's input. But two more things about that campground that kind of stood out. One, they were brand new redoing the dog park, and so they finished it in the midst of when we were there. The fence wasn't up when we got there, and then they got the fence up, and then they even put sod down, so the puppies really were excited to run around. And it was bigger than many, so they actually got to run a little bit, and the grass was kind of funny. They're like, hey, I remember this stuff. But on the last day, right before we left, like I said, it was brand new. They were cementing an outside border along the outside, and we walked up and I asked the guy that was working on it, I said, the dog park open? He's like, yeah, come on in. And we did, but I had both dogs solo, and Zoe stepped over here right in wet cement. 2 puppy paw prints.
She just wanted to leave her mark.
So he's he was so awesome about it. I felt so bad, and it's probably really good that he was right there. But it would have been clever to actually put their puppy paws prints in,
yeah.
but in a much nicer fashion. Oh, the chickens are.
The chickens are coming.
Every campground has a cat or 2 or 7 running around. This one has chickens
And a little dog.
and a little dog, which is sad. Okay, so actually the best thing, our site was double wide,
Yeah.
gave us a lot of space, but the best thing about the spot was the view.
Oh, the view was fantastic. Yeah, fantastic. I don't know if Amanda will put some pictures in or not, but
Put them at the end. That's how I know how to do
So-
for editing right now.
yeah, that's fine. Las Cruces is about 100,000 people, so it's not a small town, but it's it's not huge either. But it's surrounded by mountains, and each mountain is kind of like. Trying to remember what your cousin told me they were called island mountains or something like that.
Oh yeah, because they're each independent.
Yeah, because they're each independent of themselves, so it was like that. And during the day, you would see beautiful sunrises and sunsets, and at night you would see all the lights from the city. So we had good views the whole time.
So we were on the outskirts of the city, and it didn't really feel like we were up that much higher for the view that we got. Like when you drove into town, it didn't seem like you went up or down any big hills, but that was spectacular.
It was really good.
Glittery lights.
We did not get to benefit. They did have a pool. We didn't get to benefit from that. So there were a lot of
Closed for the
amenities.
season.
Yeah, closed for the season. They had a basketball hoop that we used several times, and tetherball returned. So we played tetherball a few times. Kids like tetherball. They don't like how hard the tetherball is, though. That's been an issue.
Wimps.
Wimps. Wimps.
No calluses, no. Anyway, we don't usually talk about campgrounds that much, but that KOA Las Cruces is a really nice campground.
Yep.
So what we did while we were there, let's see, not necessarily in order, but we drove to see the recycled roadrunner, drove through Mesilla, saw a bunch of pecan trees, went into town, the market and the Christmas, and then White Sands.
White Sands,
I think that's okay.
That was quite a bit actually for the week that we spent.
So let's back up and maybe go like least amount of time or least significant. So we drove through the town of Mesilla, which was right next door. And if we would have gotten out and walked around, I think it was kind of a cute little shop too.
Yeah, it seemed like it had like
but
when we were leaving, it almost looked like they were packing up like an outdoor market type
Yeah.
of scenario.
we were told that it was really cute to go over there, and it was like 15 minutes away. So we drove through it, but we didn't see the significance at the point. So
Yeah.
I think it would better just be wandering around in kind of an old Mexico sort of atmosphere to it. Surrounding area is tons of pecan trees, which all looked like they were dead to me because they must be, dormant for the season.
Right now, yeah.
And then
There was actually a sign as we were driving out of Mesilla that said, "Pecan theft is a crime. Please report any activities." And I imagine it's cash crop for some people there. So
And then on the roadside at a wayside rest area, which we drove on purpose just to go see the recycled roadrunner, which was this massive, really super tall roadrunner, which is the Arizona state bird, isn't it?
Yep.
But we were in New Mexico.
Maybe it's New Mexico state bird. I don't know. We'll get back to you on
I
that.
think it was the Arizona
We keep
state bird.
talking. I'll check it out.
But this sculpture was made out of everything. A lot of shoes, like the tops of the shoes have been disconnected from the bottom of the shoes, and then that's apparently really tricky to say.
New Mexico state bird.
What's Arizona state bird?
I'll find out.
Soles of shoes, tops of shoes, things like tennis rackets, old tech equipment, keyboards, crutches, tennis rackets. What else do you remember? Oh, the cactus wren is the Arizona state bird.
There was
Bike tires.
They had tons of New Balance. I don't know why it needs New Balance, but tons of New Balance tennis shoes that they used. There was computer keyboards. There was.
You weren't listening to what
No,
I said.
I was checking out the birds.
It's kind of like
The
an
horse.
eye
Did you just
spot.
mention the horse?
The horse?
Yeah,
No.
there's like a tin horse on each side. It was kind of neat.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that was cool. So then, Christmas or downtown or White Sands?
Probably White Sands.
Okay, White Sands.
So White Sands was kind of neat, and I think we posted some pictures on White Sands. Yes, no? I have.
No, I haven't yet.
Okay. So White Sands is about an hour north of Las Cruces. We had to drive through Las Cruces to get to there. For those who don't know, White Sands is an interesting area.
National park.
It's a national park. It's one of the smallest. I don't know if we ever looked up if it is the smallest. Hot Springs is pretty small too in Arkansas, but it's one of the smallest. It's only 3 miles wide. It's like 247 square miles or something like that. So it's not real big. And it's basically connected to an Air Force base. And that Air Force base is where they have done a lot of missile training and missile programs. And about 100 miles north of White Sands is actually where the U.S. government tested nuclear weapons in the 40s.
So on that, if you ever go to White Sands, you need to look up if it's going to be open.
Yeah. If they're doing missile firing, missile range tests, then
The
they
area
close
is
it down.
closed.
Yep.
Belle and I did for sure talk about this a little bit more on the Travel Day Talk Show, which I will link. But what do we?
Zoe, stop.
I think it's the chickens.
Maybe.
There was
Oh,
also, they also
yeah.
board horses here sometimes, so there's been horses on and off. It's okay, Zozo. If you are near White Sands, go to White Sands. If you are just driving by White Sands, go ahead and stop. If you are only going to drive through it, do not go out of your way
Yeah.
to go to White Sands. If you're only going to drive through it. Now, we spent a couple hours there, and I would have gone back. We spent forever there, but we got out, we climbed up a dune. We literally, it was like a beach with no water.
Yeah.
We just hung out.
Yep.
We tried sledding again. Kids did sand angels. They drew in the sand. We just played. We dug.
And while we say sand, when we drove up, we're from the Midwest, so we know what snow looks like. If we hadn't known that we were going to
legit,
White
no.
Sands, you would have thought it was snow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like at first glance, you have to get close enough to realize. And even when you are, because it's funny because they even plow it because New Mexico has a lot of wind storms sometimes, and so even the edges are like flat from the plow, and the ground look like it's scraped snow. It looks like it's ice. You could very much be deceived. But it was sand. It was fantastic. We spent whatever day of December it was barefoot, which is not typical of Wisconsin activity. But because it's white, it doesn't absorb the heat, and you didn't have to dig down very deep, and the sand was pretty cold.
Yeah, it was chilly.
But we just, so we stopped. We had a picnic. We were able to park right by a dune. It wasn't busy at all.
No.
We kind of had our own little personal sand dune, and they were not as hard. It probably wasn't as directly steep as the dunes in Oregon.
Yeah.
Those were vicious.
Some of them were.
That moment. But anyways, we just sat, played, and it was fantastic. And had we not been an hour away, I would have gone back.
Sure.
Yeah.
It was neat. Yeah. We just hung out. It was kind of relaxing. And
then
the
we
dogs
did drive through.
loved it because we were able to actually, we're supposed to be on leashes at all times, so we just drop their leash and let them run a little bit. Not a lot,
Not
but
really.
just enough.
Only when they came down the hill, so they didn't drag us down the hill.
Yeah.
That's really the only time.
Yep.
Anyways, we did drive through the rest of it. There are some paths and trails, but I think you can pretty much go wherever you want as long as you keep track of yourself.
Yeah, as long as you keep track of yourself. They did have, it wasn't running the day that we were there, but they had the sunset hike that they had, which I'm told, I was talking to the ranger inside, and he said it was a really very beautiful hike to go on, but it wasn't running when we were there. They actually closed at 6, and sunset was probably right about 5:30, 6 o'clock, somewhere in there. So yeah, so that was a lot of fun. It was kind of a neat experience for me, and of course, I'm the science teacher, so looking at why is that there. Just a real quick explanation. There's gypsum in the soil, and it's a basin, so everything runs into it, all the snow melt and all the rain that would happen to come. Of course, New Mexico is the same as Arizona. They have their monsoons in late spring. And so when that water comes in, it actually filters down, and as it evaporates, the gypsum is left behind in crystals called selenite. That selenite then gets eroded by the winds that they do have into fine, tiny little crystals, and that's what causes the sand. So other neat things about it, the water is actually only maybe a foot underneath the soil itself, so that actually holds a lot of the dunes in place. The moisture there actually holds them in place. Kind of neat stuff from a science perspective.
Yeah.
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 She doesn't find it neat, but that's okay. It's okay.
Chickens are
Yeah,
trouble.
so besides the KOA having really great Christmas decorations, and besides us getting our Christmas decorations kind of situated again, Kevin, the tree, although we did do that, I guess, at
We did that in
Benson, but we're continuing on. We actually found that there was going to be
You and I took Belle
Oh,
to
yeah.
the market.
To the market.
Kind of like a farmer's market, but being the season that it's in, there wasn't a whole lot of like vegetable or food vendors. It was a lot of craftsmen people
craftsmanship,
that they
yep.
had to have made it themselves. So it was cool to look at. We didn't end up buying anything, but it was cool to walk through. And we found like one of the biggest used bookstores.
Oh, that thing was huge.
Coos, COOCOA.
Yeah, I don't remember the name.
It's down on Main Street in Las Cruces. It was a really big used bookstore, and so that was kind of fun. Easy to get lost. It would take a little while to like figure out where you wanted to get your stuff from. All the signs are just like handwritten signs.
Yeah.
So we walked through that. Okay, now you can talk about.
Okay, so while we were down there, it's in the city square, and they had this ginormous Christmas tree.
Kind of like if you're in Alaska, the one down in Dash Park.
Yeah, yeah. And turns out that they were actually lighting that Christmas tree that evening. So they had a bunch of other, things, like that whole market thing was pretty much going on all day long. And they were actually running a movie for $5 at the theater that was down there.
Christmas movie.
Yeah.
Christmas Story.
Christmas Story. And so we decided that most of us would go. Who didn't come with us?
Belle didn't go back. She stayed back with the
Belle
puppies.
didn't go back.
The
So-
puppies could have gone, but it was very crowded, and
Yeah.
they wouldn't have been very comfortable.
So we went down. We went back for the lighting. Owen wanted to go into Zia Comics. It was a store that we found down there too. It's a store. Owen loved it. It was a huge store with figures and comic books and all sorts of stuff.
Arcade,
Yeah, old style
pinball.
arcade, pinball. It was quite a bit of fun. So we hung out there for a little bit.
You want the campground to do noisy? Just start a video.
And start a video. It's all good. So anyway, so we did Zia Comics, and then we went about the square. They had cookies, and they were actually giving away cookies, which was nice. I ate 3. They gave me 3, so I ate 3.
They were handing out handfuls and
handfuls of
napkins.
cookies.
I think it was some of the the community organizations within the local government that were giving
Yeah.
all this stuff away. So they had cookies and hot cocoa, and they had crafts that they were like little Oriental trading sort of kits. They were given to everybody, not just kids.
They had the local, I would assume local high schools, choirs, bands.
Yeah.
Some of the elementary school kids were there singing, different Christmas songs.
And snow.
And snow, they had this thing that would shoot out bubbles, and it looked like snow. It was pretty neat. And the local radio station was there DJing when other people weren't performing, and of course then the lighting of the tree, which was really neat.
Went from dark to lit up. So even though I missed the rotary lights in lacrosse, this was low scale.
Low scale. Yeah.
Got to see something along those effects.
So,
Yes. Where are we at? 19 minutes?
Yeah.
I think we can probably talk about, we don't usually talk about where we are until after we leave so we don't miss anything, but I don't think we're going to
I don't
miss
think we're gonna miss much
anything.
here. No. So we
5 minutes or less.
5
though.
minutes less. So as we were getting ready to leave Las Cruces, we were trying to figure out where we're going to go. We know where our end result. We want to be South Padre Island here by Christmas. So we're working our way. No,
Be after
yeah,
Christmas.
for Christmas.
No, be after Christmas.
After Christmas. Okay. Well, anyway, we'll be towards the Gulf for Christmas. So we were trying to figure out what's going to be on our way, and Amanda found this RV park, Van Horn RV, in Van Horn, Texas. Van Horn is not very big. I couldn't
It's
tell you
just
what the
shy of
population.
2,000
Just shy of
people.
2,000. Has a family dollar, and a general dollar. I don't know. So a couple of dollar stores together. There's a couple of hardware stores. There's a grocery store. And that's
Okay, the point
pretty
is
much it.
there's nothing
There's
here.
nothing here.
If you look up the directions for Van Horn, it literally says south of the middle of nowhere. And I think we're still in the middle of
We are.
nowhere.
It does have decent scenery. There's still mountains around us. Actually, I was looking out Ethan's window last night, and pretty nice view that way. But there's really not much here, and so we don't think we're going to miss a whole lot. We're going to go to the post office tomorrow. That should be exciting. The one thing that we discovered at Las Cruces, and I noticed it again here, it's rained a couple of times here, more so than at Las Cruces, but after the rain, there's like a smell of metal in the air. So there must be a lot of iron in the ground or something like that, because that's something that's kind of unique about the area.
Yeah.
Other than that, I don't think we're going to do much. We're not going to venture very far. We'll walk around, goat heads every turn.
There's nothing close. There's a couple things we would have considered.
Carlsbad is, what you say,
Yeah.
2 hours away?
Yeah, and at one point it was maybe going to be the route we went. Instead of coming down and over, we would have went over that way, but we decided not to. Done a couple cavern excursions, and some of the parts of that park right now are closed anyway. Yeah, there's a massive. Can you see the chickens? There's massive amounts of goat heads here.
Yep,
We
there they
had
are in the
to-
back. You can see it right there,
The rooster and the chicken.
just over my shoulder, disappearing
that
right
way.
now. There it goes. It's coming. It's actually coming this way, so that's kind of fun.
This used to be a KOA, not to spend too much time on this, but you can tell like the signs are covered up. It does have the triangle office building, but the website
stop.
and the reviews were a little bit deceiving for this campsite, which does not usually happen. Reviews are usually pretty accurate.
Hey,
This place is getting pretty run down.
yeah.
It's funny though, I talked to a gentleman a couple houses up. He stops here a lot on his way from Michigan to Arizona, and he said, check out the other RV parks in the area. This one is the Cadillac. So
Which it's pretty bare bones. I mean, it has some stuff that could be really cool. It has a
could be.
pond.
It has such potential.
It has a lot of potential, but it doesn't seem like. Well, anyway, we're here, so
We're just chilling and
We're
doing
just-
nothing.
yep.
And let's see, growling at chickens.
growing in chickens. You can try to get a better.
Oh, low battery.
The chickens are roughly 15 yards away
All right.
behind the RV. So anyway,
Okay.
I just got hit.
Bye.
Bye.